Obviously, the movie Think Like a Man was written by Steve Harvey. I read that you didn't have the greatest relationship with Steve.
See, that's the headlines talking. I've always been cool with Steve. What happened with that whole situation, when he moved his talk show from Chicago to LA, I went on a show as a guest.
Okay.
He pulled me aside and was like, he's telling me like, I'm about to move this show to LA. We're gonna make it a nighttime feel, but a daytime talk show, but I wanna bring you on as like a co-host. So I'm thinking like Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon type. So I'm like, yeah, I wanna do that. Of course. So I'm excited. I go back on the show again for when it was still in Chicago, like a couple months later. He goes, hey, they call you yet about the deal? I said, no, nobody's called me. He goes, really? Next day I got a phone call from a producer. Steve told me to call you. And it was very apparent. That's why I said this isn't on Steve. That producer I don't think he knew who I was. I think he was looking at it like, this is a favor. Like, I don't have anything going on in my life.
Right.
I could tell by the tone of the conversation. Steve told me to call you. And it was very dry.
Right.
I fly to LA, meet with the dude for lunch. And then I could tell, I was like, yeah, I got all these ideas, right? He just kept shooting them down. He goes, yeah, we got somebody for that. We're not worried about that. Yeah. I was like, man.
What the hell you got that?
So I take the job, right?
Okay.
We don't negotiate my contract. So I came in on on a temporary basis. And I said, I'll do the first 2 weeks, show you what I can do. And if you like me, then we'll get a deal struck.
Right.
If you don't, no love lost.
Right.
So my first day, I'm in this beautiful dressing room. And I was like, dang, they're taking care of me. And I'm getting SAG minimum. I'm just getting minimum wage for this, but I know what the bigger picture is.
Right.
So I'm like, dang, that's nice, right? I'm there about 30 minutes. They go, yeah, Gary, you gotta leave. I was like, what? Well, Chelsea Handler was the first guest. He was shooting on her old stage.
Right.
So that used to be her dressing room. So I was in her old dressing room. So of course she's coming. They're gonna put her back in her old dressing room.
Right.
So I thought, that's fine, just this episode. I'm walking around. This dude put me in like a broke down closet with no mirror, no bathroom. And I'm going, and I'm standing outside and he's like, yeah, this is where you're going to stay. And they basically said, this is where you're going to be for the rest of the week. And I was like, oh. And he started walking towards the bathroom. He goes, yeah, and the bathroom's down here. He goes, Gary, what are you doing? I was like, I'm never going to go use a public bathroom. The only two people here every day is me and Steve.
Right.
I said, find me a dressing room. And he was just like, they wasn't trying to help.
Right.
So I'm sitting here like, oh my God. I was like, they're trying to put me in a closet and I'm standing on my ground.
They tried to make you quit.
Well, black women to the rescue, the people you don't defend. This is a white dude. This is a white dude walking me around. One of them black women stepped up. She knew who I was.
Right.
She said, nah, Gary, come back here. She got me in a little, it wasn't big, little dressing room, had my own bathroom, had a couch, tiny TV. I don't need much. So I was like, all right, I'm good. I do the show for 2 weeks, but we're recording on Monday and Friday. I think it was 3 or 4 days a week. So I can't go on the road. So I'm losing stand-up money.
Right.
But I know the bigger picture.
Right.
They never have me on stage with them. I'm always behind the stage. They built like this telephone-looking booth thing.
Right.
So you heard my voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey, today's guest, and stuff like that. Right. But you never see me. So if we did 10 episodes, you probably saw me two of the episodes where I actually did a sketch or something. So I was just like, I literally would come out, say, give it up for Steve Harvey, and then he walk on stage, and I go back to my dressing room. Next episode, give it up for Steve Harvey, walk back. So after 2 weeks, I was like, yo, my agency and my manager were like, yo, we're ready to negotiate. And they go, yeah, we want it for 2 more weeks. I go, I can't do another 2 weeks. You've known about this for 6 months. Right. I can't give up 2 more. And then you don't hire me or don't give me the money I want. So I just politely said no.
Right.
Where people went at Steve was when I told the dressing room story.
Right.
Now, I'm in a weird spot. Mm-hmm. I'm cool with Steve. I'm not going to go to him where he's got all this pressure of his own TV show and be like, I ain't happy with the dressing room. So I don't know what to do. And I don't want, the only time I'm really seeing him is right before he goes on stage where I'm announcing his name.
Right.
So I can't be like, hey, what's up, man? I know you got Jay Leno going on, but real quick, my dressing room, I can't do that. Right. So yeah, it's not, I don't know if it's on Steve or not on Steve. You can take it anywhere you want it, but it's not an attack on him.
Right.
It was just, they tried to put me in the shit dressing room and then I wasn't, and then in the middle of it, one of the days off, I did Hip Hop Squares.
Right.
And I made like 3 times the money on Hip Hop Squares than I did on Steve. And I go, wait a minute, I'm working for a week and I'm making more doing Hip Hop Squares for 1 day. I was like, this ain't working out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it's on Steve, You know, I would say it's on Lori.
Right.
It was her fault.
Oh my goodness.
Again, you're not going to defend her? You're not going to defend her? You're not going to defend Lori Harvey? Another black woman you don't defend.
What's in the water in Ohio? Cat Williams, Steve Harvey, Arsenio Hall. Chappelle now lives there. What is it about Ohio?
The women, their head game's crazy. So, top. If you do states, like they're definitely top 5. The women in Ohio. That's what it is. And it brings the creative juices.
That's what it is.
I don't know, man. Like, and Dave, like I've heard like Dave is DC and Ohio.
Yeah.
I think he grew up in both. I don't know the whole story.
Yeah. But he mainly associated because DC, they got him too. DC, Wanda Sykes, Earthquake, Chappelle.
You ever notice Wanda Sykes? Like, she's lesbian now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched one of her specials back in the day, and she
That's
was
my girl, be careful.
No. It's a joke. You're allowed to talk about people. Yeah. And she said, she was talking about, it was a clip I saw, and she's talking about good. And I was like, she had a writer. She didn't write that joke.
You don't think so? There you go. She might early on.
She experimented. Like me with the white girl in 96. You're right. I take it back.
You only been with one white girl your whole life.
Yeah. Look at you. Look at you trying to switch this up.
I'm not.
You don't defend black women, so you're going to try to turn them on me. Oh my God! I got a hand job, okay? I got a hand job from one.
No, no. We already know that story. Do you remember what it was like when you went on stage for the very first time?
Yeah, Comedy Store, La Jolla, California. I was 20 years old. I go up, and I'm thinking I'm about to be discovered. I've never been on stage. This is what I thought. I'm in the Navy, and I didn't know you could start stand-up whatever city you live in. Right. I thought you had to start in L.A.
Right.
And I thought the whole state of California was L.A. because I'm looking at David Lee Roth, Wish Y'all Could Be California Girls. I didn't know there was a Fresno, a Bakersfield, a Eureka.
Right.
You know, I thought the whole state was L.A. So first 2 years I'm in the Navy, I'm stationed in Washington, D.C. And I used to go, if I heard a concert was in town, or I would find out where Comedy Nights was, I would go, I was only 17, 18 years old. I would sit outside and listen. I would just listen. And then I could hear comedians, right? Or the big shows would come, and I'd stand outside the theater and just listen. I didn't have any money to really go, and I wasn't old enough to get in. But I thought, I just got to get to L.A. I got to get to L.A. So first thing I get stationed in California, I take it. So I come out here, first day I'm in the phone book. I'm like looking up comedy clubs. I call this place called the Comic Castle. Called the dude up. I say, you got open mic? He goes, who's that? I go, no, you got open mic. He goes, let me check. And he put me on hold. I go, fucking, who is that? Let me check. I called a comic book store. I thought I called a comedy club. He's looking for a superhero named Open Mic, right? Pause. So I'm like, I was like, what are you talking about? You can't find him. He goes, man, what are you looking for? I go, is this a comedy club? He goes, nah, it's a comic book store. I go, now we're having a full conversation. I go, oh man, I just moved here. I'm a comedian. I'm trying to find a comedy club. And then he goes, oh, so now he gets on the phone book on his end. He gives me the number to the comedy store. This mythical voice from the Comic Castle. And so now I call the comedy store. Call up open mic Sunday night. I call up there. I get on. The first Sunday I called, I got on. They said, yeah, you're on the shows at like 10 o'clock at night, open mic. I go there. I got dressed. I'm thinking, I'm brushing my teeth extra hard. I'm like, I'm about to be delirious.
Right.
About to be Eddie Murphy, right. You know? I get here, I was like, oh! It's like 10 people in the audience, nobody's really paying attention, but there's like 20 comics in the back, all open micers. I'm like one of the last guys up. And I just remember, I'm on stage, I'm nervous. I don't have material to be moving, sticking to moving. I got these 5 minutes that I've been working on my whole life. The comics, and this is what comics do, we don't laugh, we go, ha! That's all we do. Yeah. They're cutting me off. I'm trying to get a punch out there, ha! I'm freaking out, right? So in the middle of it, I'm 20 years old, I got a beer in this hand, and I said, hey, all you comics in the back. I go, keep heckling. I'm only 20 years old. I said, why don't I call the cops and shut this motherfucker down? When I say the lights went off, the mic went off, it's like somebody grabbed me from the back of my shirt and they rolled me to the front of the comedy store, threw me out, and I did like a front roll, and I stand up and I start dusting myself, and the one guy was like, don't ever come back! And I was like, well, can't come back here, but I can talk shit.
Right.
So it took a little while for me to get the nerve to go back up because it did kind of scar me, but then that was my first time on stage.
Right. Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party because you know we like to do something before two something.